It's not okay.
Yeah, dude, we're supposed to erase that.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Anyway, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman,
Excused.
Cutter, Danielson, Danielson, Exum,
Oh, excused.
Fields, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Henriksen, Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundeen, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger, Mr. President.
Here. Morning roll call is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We do have a quorum. Will the good senator from Grand Junction please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal, Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to serve the people of Colorado with you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of Thursday, March 2nd, 2023 be approved and corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no? No. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
March 3rd, 2023, correctly printed, Senate Bills 173, 174, and 175, correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bills 78 and 102, correctly revised, House Bill 1051 and 1101, correctly re-revised, House Bills 1007, 1064, correctly enrolled, Senate Bill 48 and 51.
Committee reports.
March 1st, 2023, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 24 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole. The favorable recommendation with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 54 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. March 2nd, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm member of the Coal Mine Board of Examiners for a term expiring July 1st, 2026, Gerald Justin Fedenek of Craig, Colorado, to serve as a coal mine owner, operator, manager, or other mine official actively engaged in the surface mining industry, occasioned by the resignation of Stephen Wayne Larimore of Craig, Colorado, reappointed. March 2nd, 2023, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1125 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. A favorable recommendation with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. March 2nd, 2023, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1116 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1004 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. March 2nd, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm member of the State Personnel Board effective June 30th, 2022 for a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Sarah Kristen Wager of Littleton, Colorado, reappointed. March 2nd, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirm members of the Board of Commissioners of Veterans Community Living Centers for a term expiring July 1st, 2023. William McMahon of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a state long-term care ombudsman and a Democrat occasioned by the resignation of Scott James Bartland, Woodland, Colorado, appointed for a term expiring July 1st, 2026. Thomas Brown of Buena Vista, Colorado, to serve as a veteran and a Democrat appointed. Charity Lindenberger of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a member with expertise in nursing home operations, who is a nursing home administrator at the time of appointment and who is experienced in the financial operations of a nursing home, appointed. March 2nd, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm members of the State Historical Society Board of Directors effective July 1st, 2022 for terms expiring July 1st, 2025. Nancy Chisholm of Lakewood, Colorado, appointed. Zebulon Miracle of Grand Junction, Colorado, appointed. Jennifer Kim McDonald of Los Animas, Colorado, appointed. Aaron Abate of Antonita, Colorado, appointed. March 2nd, 2023. Mr. President, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm members of the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs for terms beginning June 30th, 2022, expiring June 30th, 2026. Raymond Taylor of Pacosa Springs, Colorado, a Republican and a veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States, reappointed. Sheila Scanlon of Aurora, Colorado, to serve as a veteran and as a Republican, reappointed. March 3rd, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 70 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 74 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 143 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 152 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. March 2nd, 2023, the Committee on Finance. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 161 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 156 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Message from the House.
March 2nd, 2023. Mr. President, the House has passed on third reading and returns herewith Senate Joint Resolution 6. The House has voted to concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 1043 and 1072 and has repassed the bills as so amended.
Introduction of memorials.
Senate Joint Memorial 3, Senators Gonzalez and Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez memorializing former Representative and Senator Dennis Gallagher.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Joint Memorial 3 lay over until March 17th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Joint Memorial 3 to Friday, March 17th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Memorial 3 will lay over until Friday, March 17th. Will the clerk please add Senator Coleman to the roll? Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 176 by Senators Moreno and Cutter concerning measures to improve outcomes for individuals with an eating disorder.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 177, Senators Roberts and Simpson concerning the funding of Colorado Water Conservation Board projects and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Agriculture and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1095, Representatives Woodrow and Lindsay, Senators Hinrichsen and Winter concerning prohibiting the inclusion of certain provisions in written rental agreements.
Local Government and Housing.
House Bill 1126, Representatives Ricks and Weinberg, Senator Exum concerning the inclusion of certain items of information in consumer reports and in connection therewith prohibiting the reporting of medical debt information by consumer reporting agencies and prohibiting debt collectors and collection agencies from falsely representing that medical debt information will be included in a consumer report or failing to timely disclose that, which with certain exceptions, medical debt will not be included in a consumer report.
Business, Labor, and Technology.
House Bill 1051, Representatives Lukens and Holtorf, Senators Roberts and Pelton R., concerning the continuation of high-cost support mechanism funding for rural telecommunications providers and in connection...
What are you reading?
Sorry. Nope. Sorry.
Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the title to the bill on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1051, Representatives Lukens and Holtorf, Senators Roberts and Pelton R., concerning the continuation of high-cost support mechanism funding for rural telecommunications providers and in connection therewith aligning the repeal date of such high-cost support mechanism funding with the sunset repeal date of the high-cost support mechanism.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of the one bill on the third reading consent calendar, House Bill 1051.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of the bill on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on the one bill on the consent calendar.
Senator Van Winkle will be recorded as a no vote on the one bill. With a vote of 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1051 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Pelton B., Simpson, Will, Mullica, Bridges, Janal, Winter, Kirkmeyer, Priola, Henriksen, Sullivan, Buckner, Gardner, Rich, third reading of bills. Final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1101?
House Bill 1101, Representatives Vigil and Bacon, Senators Winter F. and Henriksen concerning support for transit and in connection therewith increasing the flexibility of the Ozone Season Transit Grant Program and increasing opportunities for transit agency participation in regional transportation planning.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of House Bill 1101 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1101. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Baisley, Rich, Minority Leader Lundin, Gardner, Smallwood, Liston, Pelton B., Pelton R., Roberts, With a vote of 23 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1101 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Jaquez Lewis, Marchman, Sullivan, Cutter, Buckner, Priola, Danielson, Kolker, please add the president. General orders, second reading of bills. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up the following bills on special orders consent calendar at the hour of 9:22 a.m. House Bill 1021, House Bill 1023, Senate Bill 70, Senate Bill 74, Senate Bill 143, and Senate Bill 152. Colleagues, these are the bills that are on consent calendar for today, as well as the bills that made the consent calendar from the Appropriations Committee this morning. And calendars will be distributed to your desks.
The motion is that the Senate take up House Bills 1021 and 1023 and Senate Bills 70, 74, 143, and 152 on special orders consent at the hour of 9:22 a.m. This does require a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will take up the previously mentioned bills on special orders consent at the hour of 9:22 a.m. And I believe calendars are being distributed right now. Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rules relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
House Bill 1021, Representatives Snyder and Weinberg, Senators Van Winter and Cutter, concerning state licensing authority's ability to act regarding the movement of marijuana in certain circumstances to protect the public. House Bill 1023, Representative Lindstedt and Wilson, Senators Roberts and Gardner, concerning the dollar amount of a special district contract that requires notice for bids. Senate Bill 70, Senator Kolker, concerning school resource officer training. Senate Bill 74, Senators Van Winkle and Janal, Representatives Froelich and Doherty, concerning continuing human trafficking prevention training and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations contained in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Senate Bill 143, Senators Fenberg and Van Winkle, concerning the administration of the existing retail delivery fees collected by the Department of Revenue. Senate Bill 152, Senators Roberts and Pelton R., Representative Holtorf and Young, concerning the continuation of the regulation of the custom processing of meat animals and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the passage of all the bills on the special orders, second reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1021, House Bill 1023, Senate Bill 70 and the associated Education Committee report, Senate Bill 74, Senate Bill 143 and the associated Appropriations Committee report, and Senate Bill 152.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on special orders, second read of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 70 as amended, Senate Bill 74, Senate Bill 143 as amended, Senate Bill 152 passed on second reading and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1021, House Bill 1023 passed on second reading and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 70 is amended, Senate Bill 74, Senate Bill 143 is amended, Senate Bill 152 passed on second reading, order engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1021 and House Bill 1023 passed on second reading, order revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Majority Leader Moreno?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 53 lay over until Friday, March 10th.
Okay. What's that? Okay. The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 53 to, when was it? To March 10th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 53 will lay over until March 10th. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 38 lay over until Friday, March 10th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 38 to March 10th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 38 will lay over until March 10th. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 60 lay over until Tuesday, March 7th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 60 until March 10th. All those in favor say March 7th. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 60 will lay over until March 7th. That brings us to Clerk, will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 146?
Senate Bill 146, Senator Danielson, concerning updates to the Colorado State Apprenticeship Resource Directory.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues. Today I have Senate Bill 146, which is an update to the apprenticeship directory that we created a few years ago. Prior to its creation, we didn't really offer a comprehensive set of data for folks outside of this building in the Colorado community who are looking to get into a new line of work or to move around the workforce. The apprenticeship directory puts in the hands of Colorado youth, say folks who are considering going to college or going into a good paying career. We want them to have the information that they need at their fingertips to make the best choices about their own profession, what path they want to take that is best suited for them, and perhaps a quality apprenticeship provides them the opportunity to earn as you learn and get a good paying job and a career that you're proud of and stay in for a long time to come. It was with those goals in mind that we created the apprenticeship directory, and it's been working pretty well. We have identified some problems along the way, though, and so we need to pass this bill in order to streamline the data that we collect, make it more consistent across the board, so that employers and the folks managing these apprenticeships are able to put the data into the system that is more easily read and attainable and understood by the end user, so that the prospective employee or the prospective apprentice has the correct information in front of them when they're looking at all of their options. This is a pretty straightforward move to improve the system, which will, of course, improve everyone's chances of getting the quality apprenticeship that might lead to a really satisfying and well-paying and a career path that one enjoys for a long time. So that, with that, Mr. Chair, I move Senate Bill 146.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Is this one on? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I sit on the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, and we did hear this bill a couple of days ago, Senate Bill 146, from the good senator from Lakewood.
Wheat Ridge, sir.
Wheat Ridge, sorry about that.
That's all right.
On the west side over there, Wheat Ridge. Wheat Ridge Farmers, right?
That's right.
Very good. But there was some opposition to the bill, and with all due respect to the good sponsor, not all of the majority of the apprenticeships here in Colorado are non-union. Not that that totally matters, but like 90% of the apprenticeships are non-union. Some good examples of this would be the IEC of Southern Colorado Independent Electrical Contractors. Unfortunately, they didn't know about this bill, or they would have come and testified at the at the committee hearing. Also, another organization that didn't know about it was ABC of Colorado, the Association of Builders and Contractors. They have what's called an advocacy committee, and unfortunately, they didn't know about it either because, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Because they would have liked to have come and testified on the bill as well. And last and certainly not least is called the Construction Industry of Colorado Training Council, CITC, as it's normally called. They had no idea also that this bill was coming through the legislature, and they do have some serious concerns regarding the reporting requirements. I don't want to put words in their mouth, except to say that these organizations, which do the vast majority of the apprenticeships here in Colorado, they did not know about it. Now, maybe a little bit is their fault, but on the other hand, they would have liked to have been more thoroughly informed and contacted. Just a little bit about the Construction Industry of Colorado Training Council. It is a non-union apprenticeship organization that has unique applicant standards from union shops, as they do not require a minimum level of education or certification before enrolling in their provided programs. So they bring people in that maybe are not experts, but still want to be informed on the intricacies of apprenticeships. They have a very good completion rate, which is above the national average, and so they have a strong interest in this. So while this bill may be passed here in the Senate because a lot of the organizations were unaware of what was going on, there will probably be further opposition as it reaches the House. and there were at least 2 no votes in our Senate committee. So with that, members, I would respectfully ask for a no vote, and I think my colleagues would have some comments as well. Thank you, members, and thank you for the water.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I would just remind the body that we're actually speaking about Senate Bill 146, and so the comments should really pertain to this particular bill. I'm reminded who we're doing this for when I look up into the gallery and I see, I don't know, dozens and dozens of young faces staring down at us. And I don't know what drove them to come to the building today, but of course they're always welcome, and I'm grateful for your presence. The reason that I bring up the youth is because this is what this bill is exactly for. Young people who are looking for a good career that they can be proud of and earn a solid living in. If you have an issue with the labor movement in general, that is not what we are debating today. What we're talking about is an apprenticeship directory that is meant to serve the public in a proper way, to put accurate and up-to-date information in the hands of prospective workers so that they can make the decisions that will most impact their lives and their careers moving forward. It's a thing that we should all be proud of that we created years ago, the apprenticeship directory, so that we're promoting these types of career paths for everyone to have the accurate and up-to-date information in their hands. So for example, if a young person is getting ready to graduate from high school, they are making the best decision for them whether they want to continue their education in a 4-year institution or perhaps seek out the benefits of an apprenticeship in the line of work that they choose. We have hundreds of different apprenticeships in the state of Colorado that are accredited and serving either young people looking to get into a career or older Coloradans who are looking to move around and find a new path. That is what we're talking about today. The problem is the way that we set up the original apprenticeship directory is that employers who are wishing to provide the kind of data that's necessary are finding it confusing on the back end. So they're either leaving these fields blank, writing in inconsistent data, or just coming back and contacting the Department of Labor and Employment with questions about how they're supposed to utilize the system to put the data into. So what we're doing is streamlining and making consistent the information that employers and the people participating in apprenticeships want to put out to the public so that young people and other adults looking to get a different job have accurate information when they're basing their decisions on whether or not to go into what line of work and how they get there. The terminology in this bill is consistent with federal requirements. Union and non-union use the same words. Journey worker is a consistent term. There are about 50,000 people in the trades alone that have the title journey worker. Union apprenticeships provide high quality, high completion rate, wonderful apprenticeships. So do non-union apprenticeships. That's actually not what we're debating today, and it's not anywhere in this bill. My concern is for the youth, that we are providing young people with the accurate information they need when they're getting ready to move on to the next step of their lives. The decision that they make when they're getting ready to complete high school and move on might include whether or not to go to college, to go to a 2-year institution, a 4-year institution, to go get a job. Whatever they may choose, apprenticeships are a really, really great opportunity for young people. They provide the opportunity to earn as you learn. You don't rack up a life's worth of debt. You enter into a field of work that you really feel good about, that you enjoy doing, and with the worker shortages all across the state, you're helping lift up our economy. Those are all really positive things. What we're talking about here in Senate Bill 146 is giving those prospective employees, those young people, or older workers moving around in the workforce, information so that they can decide what's best for them. And that is why I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 146 to improve the apprenticeship directory.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Baisley. Senator Pelton.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As being somebody who has benefited from an apprenticeship program or apprentice in general, I appreciate the comments from the good senator from Wheat Ridge, and I appreciate that. The one thing I would like to ask the good senator from Wheat Ridge and the sponsor of this bill is that for some clarification to make sure that the personal identifying information is not available to the public in this legislation.
Senator Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the underlying bill that created the apprenticeship program in the first place a couple years ago, I was in support of then, and I voted yes on Senate Bill 146 in committee as well. I am in support, strong support of industry apprenticeship programs. A big thing for me, if you know me at all, and one of the main reasons why I always request to the point of begging to be on the education committees, whether I was serving in the House or here in the Senate, and thank you, Minority Leader Lundin, for the privilege of serving here in the Education Committee with you, is to advance relevance in education so that what is being taught is going to directly apply to those self-supporting careers that young folks are going to be able to step into. So apprenticeships do that in a great way. So I'm a big fan of the whole concept and will always be in support. The short-sightedness of the request from the department is in this one term, and it's an exclusive term, and that's what I want to talk about right now. So the department came with through this bill to request several changes that would reflect how things have really turned out for them over the past couple of years of working this program, and I am in support of the department having the codification of how things work best for them. The problem is in the term journey worker wage, because this program is to cover all industries, not just the trades. So the trades are certainly critical and important, but the trades have that journey worker term that is not familiar anywhere else in 90% of the rest of industry throughout the nation, certainly throughout Colorado. So I'll give you a couple of examples. There are apprenticeship programs through high schools for accounting. If you ask an accounting firm to describe their journey worker wage, they would look at you like a dog trying to figure out what that sound is. Same with certifications for servers, for Cisco certification programs. They ask that technology company about what is their journey worker wage. They would say, hey, we pay monthly, or we pay weekly, or we pay hourly. They would not know how to answer that question. There is a big program within my district on cybersecurity. So a background of mine that I've worked with significantly to try to help advance that, cybersecurity workers, and also aerospace engineers. Those folks are paid on salary level. They're not paid as a journey worker. That is a foreign term to them. It's a foreign term to 90% of industry across the state. So to eliminate the words annual, monthly, weekly, hourly as a compensation response when the department is reaching out to industry and saying, tell me how you're compensating people, and to tell them, well, we're not going to use all the standard terms. We want you to have your term, use only the term journey worker wage. They're going to have to figure out, how do I translate 90% of the industry? How do I translate salary, hourly, into journey worker so that it accommodates the department? So I think the department needs to accommodate industry rather than industry being asked to accommodate the department. And for that reason, Mr. Chairman, I move L001.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L001?
Amendment L001 by Senator Baisley, amend printer bill page 3, strike lines 16 through 18, and subparagraph H. The average current annual monthly, weekly, or hourly compensation of enrollees was completed the program or the current journey worker wage and
Senator Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for coaching this freshman by everybody. Mr. Chairman, I move L001. And may I describe it?
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me describe this. The request in the this item in the bill currently, as it stands, without any amendments, asks for the terms of annual, monthly, weekly, hourly compensation to be stricken and replaced by current journey worker wage. What this amendment does is it allows for the term current journey worker wage, because I certainly don't want to prevent the trades from being represented in the terminology that they use. But so I don't think that we should tell the department, no, you can't use that term. I'm not saying that in the slightest. I'm just saying, let's not replace everything else with just that one specific trade-oriented term. So that is the purpose of this bill, is to simply include what they're asking for without eliminating the rest of the industry.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleague from Teller County?
Yes.
From Teller. I spoke with them briefly about this change, and I understand the intent. However, the apprenticeship directory already reflects the term completer and journey worker. So again, we're not talking about the end user's experience. We're not talking about the general public's ability to understand the term journey worker or distinguish it from something else. We're talking about the ability of the department to collect consistent data. And this is the federally recognized term that makes that data collection consistent across the board. So we can't insert this ambiguous language on the front end for that reason alone, that is the language that is triggering the kind of confusion that's preventing the proper data collection in the first place to be able to put back to the end user. So while it may not appear that way, or you may not be able to distinguish it on the back end, I urge a no vote on Amendment L001, because the whole purpose of the bill is to make consistent the data collection by the department. Thank you to my colleague, but I urge a no vote.
Senator Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I also want to thank my colleague from Wheat Ridge. I'll just make my final comment on that. I just think that we ought to, as a state and through our agencies, not ask industry to comply with us, with the state, but rather have the state accommodate all industry and not being specific to one area. There's an implication there that's an assertion from the state that I think is inappropriate, and we need to not ask everybody to comply with this one mindset. So I ask for a yes vote on L001. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The motion is the adoption of Amendment L001 to Senate Bill 146. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and the amendment is lost.
Hang on, before we talk about the amendment, I'm going to ask one more question.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to ask one more time of the sponsor from Wheat Ridge, because I don't know if she heard me or if she heard me for the last time, but I want to make sure that this legislation does not make available any personal identifying information to the public. So the apprentice directory will have a personal, will have your information as an apprentice. All your information will be out there, and I just want to make sure that none of that personal information is available to the public at all.
He hasn't. Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So The apprenticeship directory is a directory of apprenticeships in the state of Colorado, available to anyone to research about apprenticeships. So there is, I don't know what personal information you're wondering about, but this is about the programs that offer the apprenticeship programs. So whether you're going into cosmetology or construction, there are hundreds of apprenticeship programs that are available to people in Colorado that are accredited through the state and federal programs. The apprenticeship directory that we created in 2019 is a way to collect that information and make usable to folks who are interested in researching about apprenticeship programs.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to acknowledge that both my Republican colleague and my Democrat colleague care about the privacy of individuals and the clarification that, in fact, the individual privacy of individuals is precious to all of us is supported by both sides and, in fact, would be protected and supported by this bill. So I am grateful for that, and I'm also grateful for the opportunity to speak to my colleagues in a room where I can actually hear myself think. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just want to thank the sponsor. Thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it, and I'll move on. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 146. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 146 is passed. We're done, right?
Yes.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 146 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 60 laid over until March 7, 2023, and retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 53 and Senate Bill 38 laid over until March 10, 2023, and retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 23-146 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 2360 laid over until 3/7/23 and retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 53 and Senate Bill 38 laid over until 3/10/23 and retaining their place on the calendar. Governor's appointments, consent calendar. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar. Would the clerk please read all the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the Public Employees Retirement Benefit Plan for a term expiring January 1st, 2026, Jennifer Pasquino of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative with experience and competence in investment management, finance, banking, economics, accounting, pension administration, or actuarial analysis. Appointed member of the State Housing Board for a term expiring January 31st, 2026, James Martinez of Thornton, Colorado, to serve as a Democrat and resident of the 8th Congressional District. Appointed.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of all the appointments listed on the consent calendar, which includes the member of the Public Employees Retirement Benefit Plans and the member of the State Housing Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, those appointments are confirmed. Signing of bills.
March 3rd, 2023, the President has signed Senate Joint Memorial 2.
We are at announcements. Members, I would ask for a moment of personal privilege, but I don't think I have to at this point. I just wanted to say thank you all for taking the time to be here and have a really brief recognition of an individual who lost his life here in Denver. His name was Luis Garcia. He was 16. He was a junior at East and played on the varsity soccer team. He was shot while sitting in his car outside of East High School last month, and he died on Wednesday. Members, there is no point to any of the policies that we pass or the laws that we legislate if our children are not alive. We stand in this chamber, and the future literally looks down on us. Students from East High School look down on us and wonder if we will move in alignment with their hopes. They look down on us and ask if it's politics as usual, or is this chamber about the people? A right to live, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The future is looking at us. They're listening to us. They're telling us to act, to not be silent, to not be idle, but to act consistent with our hopes. East High School has been a part of my family since my mother graduated from East High School. I think about my children, James and Naomi, who are not yet high school students, but are 12 years old in the 6th grade. And I think about when I get up in the morning and we send them off to school, as all of us have in some capacity, whether you have children, grandchildren, nieces or nephews, we do not expect them to leave home and not come back. Our children, our youth, our students deserve the best possible education and a safe education. And I know that we don't always agree on how we get there, but I do know that we all agree that that's something that we can all focus on. How do we help our students be safe? This isn't about a policy. This isn't about bills being run. This isn't a statement that I have an opportunity to stand here and make. We are doing our job. We will do that job. But this is about us saying today, we all agree that what happened to this student and what happens to so many students across our country, their ability to not live and have a fulfilled life is unacceptable. We have some work to do. We just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge you, to let you know that we see you. We appreciate you coming and marching from the school to be outside of the Capitol, but this is your house. And we thank you for also coming into this space. I know that there may be some other individuals that would like to share, and I'm going to open up that opportunity, but I just wanted to say really quickly, while we appreciate your applause, we appreciate snapping the fingers, we appreciate your recognition, in this chamber, we have decorum. We don't allow clapping outside of the work that we're doing. We don't necessarily allow you to make a comment or shout, but that's why you elect people, to speak on your behalf. So we just want to say thank you so much. I don't want applause. None of us want applause here. A student's life has been lost. Your classmate, your peer's life has been lost. We just wanted to make sure that we took the time out of our day this morning, as you did, away from school to acknowledge you. And I would invite any of the other members who may want to share words to share some words. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Personal privilege granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank the students from East High School for being here. I have the honor of representing East High School. I have the honor of representing George Washington High School in my district, where my son is a sophomore. And on the same day that there was a shooting, the shooting that you just mentioned, Mr. President, at East, and the horrific tragedy that resulted, there was a lockdown at GW, and it's not the first this year. It's not the first for East. It's over and over and over again. And enough. Enough. As Mr. President mentioned, I send my son to school each day, and I wonder if something is going to happen. It's on the minds of all Denver parents. Enough. We're going to do our part in this body. We're going to continue to work on legislative ideas, legislative progress to try to reduce gun violence. But there is no perfect law. There is no single thing we can do to end it. It's going to take all of our efforts. And so I thank the students for being here today, for joining us, for making it clear where their hearts and minds are as we grieve for the loss of one of our neighbors and one of our fellow classmates. I'm sad today, but I'm also feeling more urgency to do this work with my colleagues in this chamber. So, Mr. President, thank you for this moment to remember Luis, and for taking a moment to remember how urgent this work is, that we make progress in Colorado. And I'm so glad to have the students here with us today to help with that work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. And good morning to my friends that are here in the chambers. And I would like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Moment of personal privilege granted.
My heart breaks for each and every one of you, because you deserve to live in a state where you feel safe in your school, in your classroom, in your community, where you worship, where you shop, where you walk. You have a right to be safe. And I know why you're here today. You're here today for two simple reasons. I would say it's about guns and it's about violence. And unfortunately, at your young age, you're having to deal with gun violence. I'm sure all of us here know someone who has been impacted by gun violence. Some of them may have survived gun violence, but they're living with the impact of that. And some, like our good friend, your friend, who passed away due to a bullet that took his life. We all have to deal with the trauma of gun violence. And you being here today is a sign that you're transferring your pain of having to deal with gun violence in your life at this time, during this season, repeatedly. And I believe you're here to say enough is enough. And that you're here to lend voice to the adults that are in the room that we have a responsibility to craft policies and implement whatever kinds of systems and programs that are available to curb and reduce and eliminate gun violence for your generation. I believe that we can do that. So I am lifting the family up in prayer. I'm lifting the school, East High School, up in prayer. But I'm also lifting up action. And your step being here today is action to the adults. By being here, expressing your thoughts about what we need to do. So I'm calling on all leaders, some that are sitting here in these seats, and some that are outside in our communities, our pastors, bankers, small business owners, school teachers, superintendents, CEOs. I'm asking everyone to do what they can to curb and to reduce and interrupt. That's what you guys are doing today. You're interrupting what should be a normal kind of thing and saying enough is enough. We have to address gun violence. And you all are leading that effort here today. So, Mr. President and colleagues, I believe that we should be protecting our children over guns. I don't want to go to another funeral. I've been to too many. Our kids are struggling with the trauma. It's more than just the bullet. It's after the bullet has penetrated and shattered a community. It's the response after the trauma and the pain has happened. We have not dealt with all of the wraparound support that's needed when the trauma comes to a community. We're expected to move on when the cameras move away. And there's no more print press. And the mom is left having to bury her child. And the kids are having to struggle with this, going to funerals without any adult support. They're trying to figure this out, and they're not mentally mature enough to understand why adults aren't doing anything. It is not business as usual. And students, I hear you loud and clear. And I'm so glad you're here because I cannot do this work alone. I need the support of every single adult to address gun violence in our state and in our nation. We can no longer continue to be silenced. So please join me as we come up with legislation to eliminate gun violence in our state.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Personal privilege granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. President, thank you for your leadership at a moment like this. Appreciate you very much. Students, first of all, we grieve with you for your loss. Sorry for all that has happened and the effect it will have on your days going forward. If you look around here at all of us, it might seem hard to believe, but we were in high school once. It's been decades, but we were in high school once. It was not that long ago for each of us to remember that striving for acceptance amongst each other and the stress that we can all have, especially when you're in high school, and all of the nuances of social life within a high school. What I hope to convey to you all is kind of a counter to what is a prevailing thought, that life is disposable. I want to convey to you life is precious. I think you all know that in your head and heart. Life is not disposable. It never has been, it never shall be. We are endowed by that Creator who created us and designed us in the first place with that right to our life. Life is precious. And each of you, even in that moment where you're struggling for acceptance, when life seems to just suck, there is a better day just around the corner, maybe the next hour, maybe the next year. But your life is so meaningful. Each of you your life is so important, and so are the lives of everyone on either side of you. Respect that life, revere it, and know that there is a God who designed you and who loves you deeply and has an incredible mission for you, each and every one of you. Pursue that mission in your life. Be that person that God intended for you to be, and revere that life, revere the life of all around you. Always look forward to the glory that's going to happen in your life. Your life is meaningful and precious. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Thoughts and prayers are nice, but our work in this body is to pass policy and address what our constituents call on us to do. To the family, lamentamos su pérdida. We're so sorry for your loss. To the team, our hearts break for you. To students who saw Luis in the classroom and knew him, knew his favorite color, and who will miss him. To the students who didn't, but who were struck by the same sense of electricity that bites in the back of your mouth when you're afraid. We see you. Our job in this chamber is to see you and to take action. Words are nice, policy is better. The work that you do outside of this chamber makes the work that we do inside of it possible. So thank you for doing everything that you are doing. In school, in your homes, with your friends, having hard conversations with folks that you may not want to have hard conversations with. That's your work. And our work here is to debate what the policy should entail and chart the best path forward. This is all of our jobs, the 35 of us. So thank you for being here and for acknowledging that we've got a lot more work to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Hawkins-Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. For those who are watching on our, oh yes, thank you. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. I should know that by now. As a senator who represents the Longmont community, we had a situation very similar to yours for the students that are here in chambers and for the folks that are watching. Zay Rosales, who was 13, was murdered last summer, and his best friend, Elias de Herrera, was wounded very severely, and those families are dealing with what you're dealing with, and my message for you today is One person can make a difference. In 2016, I believe, I met a very courageous man who was running for office. He is here in this chamber. The senator from Centennial, who I believe is going to speak, I met him as he was trying to take action to prevent gun violence because his son was taken from him. And I made it my vow, if I ever became an elected official, to try to run a piece of legislation every year that would reduce gun violence. So the message that I have for those listening, watching, for the message that I have for the students here is there are folks out there that can help you with this. Today is Moms Demand Action Day. Ceasefire Colorado is here today. We have Giffords is here today from Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, her life was changed forever by gun violence. My message is, please, please keep taking action. Find the folks that you can work with to keep what you are doing now moving. Find and talk with your legislators and ask them to not only support what legislation will make the change that we need, but ask them to run it. Ask them to sponsor the legislation that will save lives in our community. Each and every one of you can truly, truly make a difference. And I want to thank you for being here.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the good senator from Denver said, words are nice and policy is better. And the good senator said, from Aurora, said our response to trauma matters. Your response today matters. You came here today, you marched, you're here to talk to us. And I'm going to say that the policy does matter. And it's been mentioned that 35 of us get to vote on bills this year. But we're temporary. We are limited in our time here. And I'm here today to tell you that your voice matters, your story matters, you have power, you have authority, you are building power by coming together. And I don't want it to stop today. And I think every single one of you that had the courage and authority to come down here today and talk to us today, I invite you to run for office. I invite you to take your experience of what you've experienced. I invite you to take your trauma that you experienced. I invite you to seek the policy change you want, and I want you in these seats. I want you to run for office. I want your voice here. I will help you do that. Today is the day of that journey, and I want you to start thinking about running for office and not just asking for the vote, but to take the vote.
Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Today's the 554th Friday since my son Alex was murdered in the Aurora Theater Massacre on July 20th, 2012. I'm talking to you guys up there because I want you to know I come down here every other week to remind everybody in this building how long it's been since my son was murdered. I'll explain to you, I could never see a week ahead. I could never see a month ahead. But I always knew I could at least see till Friday. So that's what I use to mark each of the Fridays since Alex was murdered and was taken away from us. I know what's ahead, okay? And it's okay. In these 554 Fridays, I had no idea how angry I could be. And how the anger would never subside. It never goes away. The grief, the trauma, the sadness that I feel, it never goes away. So what I would say to each and every one of you is look to your friends that are on the right and the left side of you. Hold on to them. Look to them for support, okay? Ask them to be with you because, folks, believe me, there will be a time when everybody's gone. And you're dealing with your anger and your grief and your sadness, and it's just going to be you. And you need to remember that your friends are out there, that there's others out there who have been through this just like you're going through this. And that's why I came down here, was to try to do everything I can so that I don't have to see kids like you. You were Alex's friends. You went to the movies with Alex. You went to the hockey games with Alex. You went to class with Alex. Just like you did with your friend, Luis. And you need to hang on to that, okay? I can't tell you it's going to get better. For some of you it will, and God bless you. I'm glad for that. Some of you can forgive. Some of you can't. That's okay too. Your grief, how you walk, how you wake up each and every day is for you to decide. It's not for anybody else. They don't tell you how to do this, okay? Because they don't know. The people standing next to you and sitting next to you, they're the ones who know. They're the ones you can count on, okay? And those are the ones that you know are always there for you. And you stay with us, okay? You stay with us so that we can get this figured out. So we can make sure when your kids come and get to set up there and watch you come to work every day, you'll be here with us because we need each and every one of you here, okay? Never forget that. Never forget that. Thank you so much for coming down. Keep it up. Remind us, and don't be afraid of tomorrow, okay? Lean on your friends. Thank you.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to also say a brief thank you to the students. I had a piece of legislation that we were debating that had nothing to do with why you're here, and you sat through patiently and listened to us talk about apprenticeships. But I see some T-shirts up there. I think, do they read Angels Against Gun Violence? Can one of you stand up so I can read it clearly, please? Thank you. Thank you all so much. I just wanted to say I support you, and I think oftentimes young people are discounted. And you just reminded us today the power of young voices. Gun violence is prevalent. It is unique to this nation. It is something that is deeply shameful, and it impacts real people. Just like the colleague of mine who you heard speak before. You came here today in a powerful way to remind us we have an obligation to all of the folks that live in this country and in this state, not just voters, all of you. And now, unfortunately, you join the ranks of those who have a personal experience with gun violence. One of yours was murdered. And I am deeply sorry for your loss. But thank you for coming to the Capitol today to remind me, these in this chamber and the people outside listening and paying attention, perhaps even other young people like yourselves who will undoubtedly stand in solidarity with you because of your bravery, that it's important to stand up and say what's right and what's wrong. And we're listening, and we will take action. And I just wanted to say that to you today. So don't let them discount the voice of the young. Perhaps it's the strongest and the most powerful. You have my respect, and I know that you have the respect of my colleagues in this chamber too. So thank you so much, and keep it up.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
My colleagues that spoke before me are all so eloquent, but I really wanted to get up here for just a moment and speak to you specifically and tell you all how grateful that I am that you're here today and how deeply sorry I am for your loss and for the reason that you're here today. You're very brave to advocate and to speak out, and it is, as all of my colleagues before said, it's so important. Your voices matter so deeply. I'm sorry you have to be here, and I'm sorry, so sorry that you don't feel safe, that we have to send our kids to school in fear for their own safety. We need to do better. We have to create a better world for the next generation, and that is 100% why I'm here. It's for you. It's for the young people that have been sitting on lining the benches this morning. It's for my kids and their friends and their kids when they have them. It's our job to create a better world for you, and that's why we all should be here. I just want to, again, thank you for all that you're doing. We're listening to you deeply, and we'll do whatever we can to support you. I'm committed to that, as I know many of my colleagues are. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you also for your words earlier. They were poignant and important. May I have a moment of personal privilege? Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. I lift up the name of Luis Garcia. I didn't know him. I've had the good fortune for many of these past sessions to live where I looked at East High School. My golly, what a beautiful building. But you know what? Nothing in architecture, no matter how beautiful, could compare to the faces of the students that go to school there. Luis was one of them. You knew him. I don't know him. But his life is precious. It will be remembered as your life is precious. And it should be remembered and honored. We will debate over the next several weeks some really challenging bills. And they are bills that are about protecting life. But they're also bills about what the life we protect looks like. And that's part of the magic of this country, the United States of America, where we said the people, the individuals, the next generation will not be ruled by a king or a dictator or a tyrant, but they will be able to say what they want their rules to look like, what they want their life to look like. And we have this beautiful document that protects that. It's called the Constitution. And it makes sure that the majority sets the rules, but the minority is always protected. That all the ideas, no matter how diverse, how disparate, how challenging they may be in the moment, are still honored and supported and respected. Now, the process to getting to where we all want to live is challenging at times. It's bumping and bruising. And it starts very, very small. It starts with little things like the word we use that we call decorum. When we're struggling over a difficult issue, we can either choose to do it in a way where we actually don't make any progress and we fight with each other, or we can do it in a way that honors this idea of decorum. We actually listen carefully, because if you don't understand what the other person's saying, how could you ever expect them to seek to understand what you're saying? And so decorum is where it starts. Now, it grows from there, and it gets bigger, and it becomes policy, and it becomes law, and it becomes a number of things. One of my colleagues encouraged you, each one of you, to run for office, be here. I would say, well, that's a really good start, but I would encourage you, there may be something even more important than running for office that you can do that will change your community, that will change your society. Maybe you're going to create a small company that employs a friend or two and then it employs 10 or 20 friends and then it employs 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people. Maybe that's the pathway that you'll choose. And that's what the policies we will debate about are all about. The idea of giving you the opportunity to be who you choose to become. And we want to defend your life and your liberty and your ability to pursue that happiness because that's enshrined in that document known as the Constitution. So this has been a challenging and difficult and at the same time wonderful parenthetical moment, just a separate moment. The Senate, the debates here aren't normally this high-minded, but today, in fact, I think we've moved to a better level in honor of Luis Garcia and the sacrifice he gave up. He certainly didn't intend to. We are struggling today in Colorado and in Denver in what we would call a crime wave, a crisis in crime and violence. And we absolutely must get a handle on that. We absolutely must find a better way forward. And we absolutely must do it in a way that honors your freedom, the liberty that you have as enshrined in the Constitution. Mr. President, I pause at this moment and I once again lift the name of Luis Garcia. I ask for a moment of silence and I ask that the chimes be rung in the honor of the name and memory of Luis Garcia.
We will take a moment of silence and the chimes will be rung.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, guests.
Announcements.
Good morning. I would like to have a moment of personal privilege.
Moment of personal privilege granted.
It is so ironic that on this amazing day that I am able to honor a group of young Black kids who are there to observe what we do in this house, the People's House. I want to introduce members of Jack and Jill of America. Jack and Jill is a leadership organization formed during the Great Depression. It was formed in 1938 by African American mothers to bring children together in a social and cultural environment. It was headquartered in Washington, D.C. The organization aims to improve the quality of life of children, particularly African American children. There are more than 230 chapters of Jack and Jill chapters in 35 states across the country, with more than 10,000 mother members and 40,000 parents and children. And it's ironic that they are here today when we have these amazing students from East High School here making sure that we are accountable as legislators. These young people are our future. They matter. Our youth matters. They are our future leaders. So all of you who are here with East High School, all of these young people admire you. They were asking me questions about why you all were here today, and I explained why. And they asked some of the most amazing questions about why you are here. So our youth who are here today, we recognize you, we honor you, we want to make sure that we keep you all safe. That's our purpose. I would also like to call out a young man, and his name is Justin Little, a member of Jack and Jill of America. He is mayor of Young Americans Ameritown Homeschool Division. We are so proud of him. And you see how patient they have been this morning, asking questions. They have been so dignified, have amazing manners, and I look forward to all of you making a difference in our state and in our country. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you all for being here today. Members, before we go into any further announcements, I did have also one tribute myself, if that's okay, to recognize some individuals.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moment of personal privilege, please.
Granted.
Had to make sure I had to ask for that. The members of the Colorado Senate recognize and commend Denver Zoo as one of Colorado's oldest and most passionate wildlife conservation organizations. Denver Zoo's commitment to the care and protection of wildlife dates back more than 125 years, with the mission of inspiring communities to save wildlife for future generations. And through the support of its guests, members, donors, and partners, the zoo connects more than 2 million people to wild animals through immersive zoo habits, engaging learning experiences, and impactful local and conservation programs. Dedicated staff and resources towards wildlife conservation, rescue, and rehabilitation projects, and provides the 3,000 animals that call its 80-acre campus home with the highest level of physical, mental, emotional, and nutritional care. Today, the Colorado General Assembly is here to recognize Denver Zoo's tremendous contribution to the Colorado community and impact on wildlife conservation throughout the state and around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today, as you do every year. Thank you for bringing the animals, and we look forward to continuing to see you all year after year.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Members, today is Dentist Lobby Day at the Capitol. You might have had a toothbrush left on your desk, a new toothbrush left on your desk yesterday. If you haven't gone down to the ground floor to room 112 to visit some of your own dentists in your own districts, please do that. They're down there, I guess, until about noontime. So please go and visit, say hi, and give them a big smile. Thank you.
Senator Hawkins Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Folks, the Colorado Optometry Association is here in the Capitol today. Some of them were inside the chamber earlier, but I know there's several that are out there. These are the doctors who care for our eyes and vital care of our overall eye health. These docs are here to meet with us, so please, when they send a card in or as you go out of chamber, if you'll take a moment and meet with your local optometrist. Thank you.
Message from the House.
March 3rd, 2023, Mr. President, the House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the reviser of statutes House Bills 1195, 1167, and 1187. Minute is printed in House Journal March 2nd, 2023. The House has voted to concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 1064 and has repassed the bill so amended.
Committee reports.
March 2nd, 2023, the Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 63 be postponed indefinitely. Senate Bill 144 be amended as follows and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 83 be amended as follows and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 155 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1058 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar.
Members, I just want to say thank you all for this morning, each and every one of you. If we can model the behavior and the tone and the tenor and the respect that we give to one another and those who are outside of this building that are caring so much about what we do in this building, if we can model that behavior for the rest of the session, I think Colorado will be better off. So I appreciate serving with each and one of you. You never know how some of these conversations and debates are going to go, and I'm really proud to be serving in the Senate with all of you today. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing no further announcements, I move that the Senate recess until 11 a.m. today. Colleagues, you do not need to return. We're just reading bills across the desk.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until 11 a.m. today.